Premier manche, service, Roger Federer, ready.
So all the final preparations taken care of. A little bit of a breeze, as you can see. And hopefully that won't spoil the quality of the tennis that we're expecting. World number one to start. Federer's 13th career Masters Series final, has won 10 and lost just the 2.
Yeah, and I think Federer would have gained something from watching yesterday's match between Nadal and Gaudio, because Gaudio came out with an interesting style, an interesting tactic of attacking Nadal's backhand, and it certainly worked for a set. Of course, the one weapon that Gaudio has is a rapier-like backhand, and he was ripping those cross-court, much as Federer has not really done in those first couple of points.
Well, I'm sure that's a good miss in Federer's mind, although obviously it puts him down a couple of break points in this opening game, but he is going to have to be aggressive off that side.
Case in point, Federer rallying deep to the Nadal forehand and hitting strong and coming in to the backhand.
Well, he hit a couple of great drop shots against Gaudio yesterday, Nadal. It was an effective tool, but early on in this match, just getting a little too much air under that one.
That was a short lob.
And touch, Nadal.
So a third chance for the 19-year-old to break the world number one's opening service game. And he's been handed it on a plate. Unusual for Federer, but there it is. He drops his opening service game, and Nadal leads 1-love. And there's a few streaks on the line today, and there's one of them, as you can see, Rafael Nadal, 41 match wins on a clay court in a row so far. just passed him by Thomas Muster, who had a couple of pretty impressive runs on the clay, and he certainly has Bjorn Borg's 46 match wins in his sights, and he'll have to go some to beat Vilas. But it is possible. But Roger Federer also on a impressive streak of his own, and there you can see it. Consecutive finals reach for Roger Federer. Quite amazing, 12 in a row. And Lendl with 18.
The service, Rafael Nadal.
So the defending champion off to a tremendous start.
Well, Federer uncharacteristically nervy at the start of this match. When's the last time we saw him throwing a double at break point?
Yeah, just the fourth time he's dropped his serve this week. Held 43 of 46 coming into this final.
S'il vous plaît.
It is a little breezy today, much more than it has been. Does that play into Nadal's style of play a little bit more than Federer, who has to be the aggressor?
I'm not sure. I really am not. I think the wind shouldn't cause either of them much problems. Temperature-wise, it's a beautiful day as we see Rafael Nadal's uncle and coach Tony. It's 68 degrees here in Monte Carlo and 65% humidity. You can probably take that down a few percentage points with the wind that's blowing around. Federer, who's here with his girlfriend, ever present, Miroslava Vavrinek. Yves Allegra, who's played within the doubles this week, just on the left of your picture. That's a nice finish. And already Nadal right up for this one, as you would expect him to be. Yeah, and a great tactic from Nadal. Totally caught Federer by surprise. Reminiscent of Guillermo Vilas on the smash there. Went back well. Vilas, for a guy who had a very small serve, one of the best smashers in the history of the game.
Well, that second serve catching Federer at sea almost, which is just over the back of this beautiful centre court here in Monte Carlo. And Nadal backs up his breaker serve with a comfortable service game hold of his own.
It's interesting here, isn't it? Because Nadal, probably the only guy on tour who isn't scared to death of Roger Federer, and it's affected Federer adversely. You know, it's almost like, who do you think you are? Don't you know who I am?
Well, Nadal certainly knows who Federer is. He leads their head-to-head 3-1, and was just a mere 2 points away from winning the only match that Federer did claim over Nadal. And therein lies the problem for Federer, that hooked forehand from Nadal can really seek out Federer's weaker shot, and I say that in inverted commas.
That's interesting, Patch. I mean, I agree with you. I think Federer's backhand is one of the best shots on tour, yet he hasn't shown a liking, really, for hitting the ball up at shoulder height with topspin. And that's what Nadal is able to do.
That was immaculate length on the second serve.
Yeah, very close to being a double fault.
Nothing quite going the way the world number one would like it to in these early exchanges. And he's on the verge of going down 3-love. Well, he's pushed it wide, and Nadal off to a lightning fast start in this final, and Federer already with a lot of work to do. Nadal leads 3-love.
Nadal time.
Nadal only made his debut in this tournament 3 years ago as a qualifier, but already loved by this crowd here, another capacity crowd at the Monte Carlo Country Club. 7,000 people in to witness this final today. And we knew it was going to be something special then. Defeated Carol Kuchera and Albert Costa, former French Open champion in his first ever appearance in Monte Carlo.
As we were saying, Mark, on the changeover, Federer was talking about this is a great opportunity to play against Nadal, but so far he's playing scared, much as he was in the semis at Roland Garros last year. Has not settled into any sort of strategy or tactic yet.
Yeah, he talked a lot about that French Open semi, and interesting to see what goes through players' minds throughout the course of the semi-final. We're just witnessing that semi-final, thinking that, you know, he's not really showing too much. But as he said, he felt as though he didn't put Nadal away quick enough in the second set. Would have allowed him to come out stronger in the third. He felt as though he lost a bit of the initiative then. Well, it was almost the best point Federer's played, but the young Spaniard steals it from him.
Yeah, and it looked as though he was put off by this bounce here. Well, perhaps it wasn't the bounce, just a poorly aimed shot.
And just quickly going back to that 4-set when he was up a break at the French Open semi, he was disappointed by the referee's decision not to stop the match then, felt it was too dark, and he said he freaked out a little. In his own mind, he saw it as he had to beat Nadal twice that night and then come back the next day and beat him again over a set. Way too good. It's the sort of rally that Federer doesn't want to get engaged in, but unfortunately for him, it's the sort of rally you have to when you're playing this man.
Well, yeah, except though, for me, it's the first point that Federer's played where he's actually looked somewhat comfortable. So perhaps it is all right for him to play a few of these points just to get a rhythm and to settle down.
That's an impressive forehand from down low from Federer.
Yeah, and I was interested by Nadal's quote, talking about his match with Gaudio yesterday, saying at the end of the first set he was quite tired, and yet his level of play, his intensity, didn't drop one speck. But I think a guy like Federer might take a bit of solace from that, because Federer, probably as well a conditioned athlete as anyone out there, will think, well, when I'm starting to feel bad, perhaps he is as well.
Federer probably at the moment feeling bad for some other reasons apart from physically. Handcuffed in the corner once again.
Avantage, Nadal.
And he clearly has decided that he will not use the slice backhand very often. And that's a departure for him.
That's a well-worked point, and a little like Gaudio yesterday.
The great thing about Federer, though, I think, is he is willing to use this match as a bit of an experiment. You know, what will work, what won't work against him. I'm sure, obviously, winning is his biggest priority, but if he can come up with a tactic and lose, then I think he'll be quite pleased as well. Did I just say he'd be pleased if he lost this match? Sorry, I think I have gone delirious.
Oh yes, vamos indeed. And there's the occasional injection of aggression that you see from Nadal on a clay court.
Just such a short angle.
Third deuce, 2 break points saved. And now delivering aces that you would expect Federer to.
Nadal.
Yeah, and for the rest of the tennis world, that is a scary sight. The fact that Nadal's serve has improved so much over the last 12 months, and the prospect of it improving even more in the coming months.
Deceptively tall Nadal at 6'1". Nothing deceptive about the scoreline right now, though, for Roger Federer. He trails love 4, and although he had a couple of breakpoint chances, it has been all Nadal so far. Good disguise. Looked like he was going to play the drop shot and then ended up flattening it out, but just wide of the line. And I bet there's some statistician somewhere looking up when the last time Roger Federer lost a set 6 love. There's perhaps a person that would know the answer to that question. Federer's girlfriend. Toughness playing this man on clay, just playing him, but when he's got the roll going with him as well, almost impossible. Casually brilliant.
Yeah, and that's what Nadal does so well. Still manages to get it down to Federer's feet. As you say, casually just put the racket face in the right position.
Well, a couple of times I feel as though Federer hasn't really gone after his forehand with everything that he has, and he's paid the price, but maybe that's taking something away from the quality of the pass.
Yeah, well, Nadal plays so deep that you have to, he forces you to go for the lines. Federer has not hit them so far today.
Perhaps Federer can take some solace out of the fact that 3 out of the first 5 games have at least gone to deuce. And there he is, Pete, going for the lines and collecting the point.
Avantage, Federer.
I think it's a matter of just allowing, or Federer allowing himself to settle down. He was nervous, very nervous at the start of this match. Perhaps just time will allow that to change.
As far as we're aware, he's never lost a 6-love set as a professional, and he's not going to do it in this set either. He holds 1-4. Federer attempting to win his 6th different Masters Series title. Has already claimed Indian Wells, Miami, Hamburg, Canada and Cincinnati in his illustrious career so far. I'm sure it is one of his aims, if it was possible, to win all 9. I'm sure he needs to keep readjusting and resetting his goals every year, such as in his remarkable last couple of years in particular.
Yeah, I suppose he'll need to actually play the events at the end of the year to win one or two of them. Madrid and Paris, the last 2 years, has not played because he hasn't really needed to.
Oh yes, lightning strike from Federer.
0 points.
Yeah, and actually played that one quite carefully. That topspin volley allowed it to get low, but moved so well at the net. It was there for the pass.
Trick there, didn't he?
He certainly did. That was a huge opportunity for Federer. As soon as he hit that short angled backhand, should have been looking to take his split step well inside the baseline to take that ball out of the air. Would have been a relatively simple volley to the open court.
Well, this is much better from the world number 1. Settled down perhaps after the last game.
And perhaps now we will see the tactic that he's worked out over the last few days. He just wasn't able to execute over the first 4 games.
Well, this is the best I've seen Nadal play this week, and again it's tribute to his ability to come out and produce his best tennis against the best player in the world. But his length, particularly on the backhand side, has been so much better than his previous matches. Nothing wrong with the idea, as we saw in the opening point of this game, just not good enough execution so far. Well, a little frustration at the end of that game as Federer sends that ball swiftly back up the court. And it's all Spain in this opening set. And interesting there, PD's elected to go a little bit more to the slice on the backhand side, which he didn't start the match doing, and I personally feel it's a good play against Nadal.
Well, I think it's a good play for Federer because it's a shot he's comfortable making, so it will cut down on unforced errors. Time will tell whether it is a good tactic against Nadal.
Federer's forehand this week has looked awesome. I mean, so impressive, and yet today, and I think again you have to give a huge amount of credit to Nadal's movement at the back of the court, it doesn't look as potent.
So far. See, I think the problem that Nadal presents for Federer is that shot, the off forehand, is Federer's favorite shot, and yet it goes into Nadal's strength, the shot where the ball comes back with heavy topspin and it just launches itself off of the court. It's very difficult to swing through that ball. It's bouncing so sprightly, if you will, off the court surface.
Nadal this time really going after his opponent's second serve and making Federer pay. You see the clay just blowing up off this surface. Oh, he's made it. And how does he do it? So often when you feel as though Nadal's chasing a lost cause, he turns it into a winning one.
Yeah, and we've come to just expect this sort of shot. Oh, well, that's routine for him. And yet he's so far out of court, and yet manages to just place the ball on the line seemingly every time. Set point.
Again.
Couple of quick 1-2 shots there from Federer. And here's a chance to close the gap a little bit. And a human brick wall comes to the fore again. And it is just uncanny how often he just makes you play that one extra shot and finally forcing you to go a little closer to the lines than you'd like. Back to deuce. Not often you see Federer rattled these days, but he is right now. Second set point.
Very rarely will we see an error like that from Rafael Nadal.
Well, that's a strategy that's worked well for players, getting Nadal out wide there.
Federer.
Yeah, and still Nadal makes him work very hard.
Just long. A couple of chances for Nadal in that game to seal the set, but Federer holds on. But he's feeling the full force of Nadal at the moment. As I said earlier, this is his, only his third year playing in Monte Carlo for Nadal. He's posted a 13-1 win-loss record so far. He's trying to become the first player to successfully defend his title since Juan Carlos Ferrero managed that in 2003, and he's made a pretty good fist of it so far. Nadal serving for the set with the new balls. Saw a stat at the changeover there where Federer has only won 38% of the points against Nadal on his first serve, and even less on his second. Does that suggest that Federer not being aggressive enough on his second serve, or that Nadal's first serve just isn't that important on a clay court?
Well, there's not much in it, Pat. 64% to 62%. So, yeah, I think it's the latter, really. I don't think Nadal tries to do a lot with his first serve. Just put it in play, keep the opponent off him.
But he's made 54% of his first serve, so I mean, you know, argue the toss, he's 50-50 first and second serve. I mean, could Federer be more aggressive on the second?
There's no question he could, but it's not what Federer does. It's not what he has done to get him to #1 in the world. So it's a difficult ask to say, well, change everything that you've ever done and attack his second serve.
Well, probably at one point he's going to need to sit down and think about what he is going to change, because it's 3 more set points for Nadal. He only needs one of these, and it's a comprehensive victory in the opening set over the world #1 by the Spanish #1. And Federer with much to ponder. Nadal takes it 6-2.
Back in Monte Carlo, and Rafael Nadal with the first set 6-2. Roger Federer getting some treatment from the trainer. His right ankle has come out heavily strapped, maybe strapped a fraction too tightly, and the trainer just loosening off the bandages. Not sure that that strapping played a part in the first set destruction by Rafael Nadal. It was very, very impressive. Of course, best of 5-set final, so a long way to go. But it's Rafael Nadal who's got off to the perfect start. Let's hand you back to our commentary team Peter Fleming and Mark Petchett.
Nothing too unusual about those strappings on Federer ankles. Always had some strap before his matches. One feature is that he hasn't had the black ankle brace on his ankle this week that he damaged at the end of last season, keeping him out of Basel, his hometown tournament. But it's always been a precaution for Federer, and rightly so.
Yeah, but I would say there is something strange about those strappings, because before he cut that little bit off, that strapping went down right over the metatarsals, and normally when you strap your ankle, it ends just before the joints that actually bear the load on your feet. So perhaps it was strapped just a little too tightly, and he's cut off that end bit. But I don't know why you would strap it right down to the balls of your feet.
Well, all I can say is when he's been in the locker room, he's been having his for the last few months when I've seen, he's had them strapped. I agree with you, it does seem as though it does go down a long way, and maybe today, for whatever reason, it's a little uncomfortable. I'm not sure whether that's just purely because of the opening set score, that it felt more uncomfortable than it did before.
Well, you know what? It perhaps is related to the tension that Federer has felt in this opening set, because he certainly was very nervous to start the match. And anytime you are tight, mentally, emotionally, you are tight physically, and when you're tight physically, then things hurt more. Things get, you feel the stress in your body. Perhaps that is the relation. But right now, it is crucial for Federer to relax his approach and let things fly. Won't necessarily be that easy to execute.
Jerry Armstrong in the chair calling time. And time can never come quick enough, it seems, for Nadal to get on with the match. Always the first to go. Four Master Series titles already for this Spanish sensation.
Deuxième service, Federer.
So Federer just apologising for delay. If he doesn't get his game in order fairly soon, there won't be too much delay in crowning this year's champion at the Monte Carlo Country Club. Tied with Federer last year with 4 Masters Series titles each. Federer, who won in Indian Wells, Miami, Hamburg and Cincinnati. Grueling rally that Nadal was on top of, but for once in this match anyway, Federer wins. Federer actually said after Dubai that he felt comfortable playing Nadal, and he said also that he felt as though he had a one-dimensional game. He might want to think about that again. Oh, a touch of genius, and it was needed.
Yeah, it certainly was, because this approach shot was quite good. And look how far back Nadal was in the court, but still made Federer stretch to the maximum.
Slices to victory in this opening game of the second set. A much better start by Federer.
Yeah, and it really just seemed in that game that Federer almost just needs to get stuck in, if you will, rather than trying to win matches with his genius, his shot-making talent. I'm not sure if that's going to work against Nadal, or at least not in the real near future. You can see Nadal doing a great job of mixing up his shot selection. Federer has not been allowed to get into any sort of a rhythm. But I think that Federer can play with Nadal, just grinding from the back of the court, at least for a short while. Perhaps that's what he needs to do to fully feel a part of this match.
Well, it's been a devastating shot for Nadal against Federer in their previous meetings, and it's proved to be the same so far today. And that's where I wonder, Pete, why he doesn't slice that return at times, just to keep it down and not allow Nadal to be aggressive.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Oh, Federer threw everything into that point.
And still Nadal nearly pulled it off.
Therein lies the problem really for Federer, that he has to play tennis of that sort of quality to win points against this man. Slice proving to be effective. Still feel at times perhaps Federer needs to take a few more risks in terms of sort of accelerating up to the net with his feet. He had a beautiful backhand up the line, saw that Nadal was going to slice, and just particularly on this surface you feel as though maybe it would be wiser for him to force Nadal into being aggressive rather than just being able to hit that sort of good retrieval shot. Oh, he's done it. He's everywhere, isn't he?
Yeah, and this is almost a revelation. How well and how aggressively Nadal moves at the net.
I mean, it's so impressive, Nadal's ability to not really be pushed out of position on a clay court.
Yeah, it seems as though as soon as you get him out wide, he hits the ball harder and forces you back. He has a great understanding of when he's in trouble and when he needs to reach back and put a little more into the shot.
Some encouraging signs, though, for Federer. It's not all doom and gloom. I said Nadal won 4 Masters Series titles last year here in Monte Carlo, where he beat Coria, Rome in that epic 5-hour marathon against Coria, Montreal and Madrid last year.
Let's first service. Front 0. Front cans.
Well, even though he's made those unforced errors, he's always going to have a higher count than Nadal, and something just tells me that he's starting to find his ball striking in this second set, because his forehand seems to have a little bit more on it again.
Yeah, and that was what was missing in the first set as well. Federer won almost no cheap points with his first serve. And that a huge part of his game.
Yeah, and he's thinking clearly as well, mixing it up, serving and volleying. And now we really feel as though we've got a match on our hands. It's Nadal's turn to trail in this second set, 1-2. People taking an opportunity to look at themselves on the big screen here. No Hawkeye here, as there was in Miami, where the players could challenge a couple of calls a set on the clay. You can see the ball mark, so had that sort of added incentive throughout the course of the match. But today is incentive enough just to watch Nadal and Federer go head to head. Impossible to read which way he's going to go.
And even if you did, a long way to run. That's silly. The execution of this shot is just scary good. Look at where the second bounce is. It's about 4 feet from the net.
And just another shot that Federer has to worry about. Not afraid to come in, and Federer will be kicking himself. At least he didn't Nadal hit the volley. As you've seen already, he's been pretty adept around the net as well. Nadal, who's dropped just 3 points in his last 3 service games, moving through them a little swifter than his opponent. Federer was talking his matches against Nadal down as a rivalry so far. Would you think that's a fair assessment, or is that him trying to take the pressure off himself?
Totally. This rivalry will grow into one of the best of all time. His argument was that he felt there were so many great players around that, you know, it's too early to say. But when you look at the stats, and we've shown you a few, and so far these two players go deep into almost every event they play. It's real simple. So far, anyway, this man is the only guy who thinks he can beat Federer when he walks on the court every time. Everyone else thinks, well, if I play great and he doesn't play so well, I have a chance. That's a difficult way to beat somebody regularly.
It's certainly a new improved Federer in this second set. And Prince Albert, Monaco, enjoying this one. 3-2. Such a picturesque setting here, the Monte Carlo Country Club. Probably the most beautiful in all the 9 stops of the Masters Series events, and it's a 100th year as well. And what a final to grace that occasion. Federer, like most of the top players, has his racket strung up every single night. The racket company that he's stringing companies with travel to all the Master Series events and the Grand Slam.
Let for service.
Sometimes likes to take a couple onto court with a different tension, just in case that on a certain given day it's playing a little differently.
And I think a whole bunch of people in the tennis industry have Warren Bosworth to thank for that, because Warren Bosworth was the guy who first convinced Ivan Lendl that he should get that he should change his rackets every time the balls were changed, and so Lendl would have 8 or 9 rackets strung up for every match, and thus an industry was born out on tour. A lot of players do the same thing now.
Monte 0.
Second love service game in the match for Nadal. Some would say that Lendl era went some way to almost destroying tennis in terms of being a character-filled sport with the likes of Macro and Connors to a character-less sport. Would you agree with that?
Well, it certainly seemed to go that way, yeah.
The UN ambassador to Britain, Peter Fleming.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if you could blame any one character for that. I think it was just the growing professionalism of the sport. You had coaches and psychologists and everyone else coming in who were suddenly making a living off of these tennis players. Whereas before they say, hey, I'm going to go out and get drunk tonight. I don't care. You know, I lose, big deal. And suddenly you had 5 people saying, well, no, that's my job. You can't do that.
I was clearly born in the wrong era. At the moment, Nadal all on his own at the moment on a clay court. Nobody can challenge him, and again he's looking to pounce in this second set. Stop it! Breaking Federer's heart with every swing of his racket.
Yeah, and this forehand was hit almost flat, look, a foot from the baseline. Nadal leaning back. Well, actually, look at that balance. Just half volley, swing, grounded, perfect.
And it's long, it's a break to love. What a game by Rafael Nadal, and he continues his dominance over the world number 1 and leads by a set and a break.
Oh gosh.
Time.
Seems he fears no one, Rafael Nadal, least of all the world number 1. And he won that little trophy you got a glimpse of there, and certainly he's got, you feel one hand on it already. A spectacular game to break serve. And he's been dominant on serve as well in this second set. Well, we've seen a couple of dimensions in his game today.
Yeah, Federer may rue saying that. A one-dimensional player? Nah, it doesn't appear that way.
Not often you see Federer lose 10 straight points, but that's what's just happened. You wonder what she's thinking right now. A little glance from Federer, things rapidly slipping away. Well, if he did have a strategy before he came out onto court today, he either will say afterwards that he didn't execute it particularly well in the opening couple of sets, or it just didn't work.
Appeared to be a questionable call.
I think it's just touching, Rafa. Just touching, yeah.
Jerry Armstrong with the I think it's just touching routine. Just in case we see it wasn't just touching.
Look at that, come on. He couldn't do any better than that.
Spot on. He's got an answer to everything, even the net cords that Federer's getting. And another easy hold for Nadal. And the ease of which he's holding, again, will cause more concern for Federer.
I lost just 3 points on serve in this set.
No, tremendous athleticism more than anything else.
Yeah, and perhaps it's Nadal who will force Federer to learn to be a great volleyer.
No, it's certainly something that he and Tony Roach are working on, him coming in a little bit more. And that's not a bad stat if Federer were to see it. I couldn't have done much more there. Nice swift service game. But it will be world number 2 to come out and serve for a 2 sets to love lead. Last time they played over the best 5 sets on a clay court at the French Open, Federer managed to hit back in the second set to claim it. It was the only set he won that day. And it looks to be a different story here in Monte Carlo. Unless he can conjure up a break that will be from nowhere, considering how well Nadal has protected his serve in this second set. opening point can always change the complexion on the game, and a stunning forehand from Federer. And it's really given the crowd something to cheer about. It's been a difficult set for them in many ways. It's been so one-sided. Oh, that is miraculous.
Just when Federer felt he was back in the point, Nadal from behind the baseline. It's very low. I mean, that got to the net very quickly. Federer still miles behind his baseline. Didn't even attempt to run it down.
2 points that in many ways underlines why these are the two best players in the world. Even the best get nervous. Maybe Nadal just a little tight here, trying to take a 2 sets to love lead.
You called it, I think.
Well, by my reckoning, that's his first double. Federer, as you can see, yet to break the Nadal serve.
Let's first.
Well, I thought he was right to go for it.
You could see he thought he had hit it well. That shot, just a function of the spin that Federer is not used to. Skidded the other way than he was expecting.
Let's second service.
Well, he's done it to so many players over the last couple of years, Nadal, and just when you think you're in control of a point, he takes it away from you.
Yeah, and the approach just too short. The spin that he puts on the ball just makes it so difficult to volley.
Plenty of fluctuations in this one game, more than we've had in the entire match so far.
Fault number 2.
He's going to have to try hard to keep his lid on emotions, Federer, because that must be one of the most frustrating unforced errors he's made today.
Ever.
Oh yes, Federer at his best, and he needs to be.
And he enjoyed this exhortation.
And his 4th break point of this game. He lost his way in that game, Nadal. You have to say his nerve deserted him, and Federer hits back.
Sanction.
2 double faults, including 1 on set point. Really hurt the Spaniard. Could that be the turning point?
It's certainly a milestone. First time that Federer has broken Nadal. Such quality tennis by both men.
Yeah. That's an understatement.
0 minutes.
You know, it almost just seems that Nadal just slightly more adept at the at clay court tactics. You know, he just understands the game intrinsically.
For me, Pete, as well, I mean, I revel in how tough these guys are mentally. Both these two, they seem to be able to put disappointment behind them so quickly. And you look at Federer in the last game on the break point where he misses, as you said, one of his worst unforced errors ever. But the next point he delivers with one of his best forehands ever. Just doesn't seem to dwell on anything bad. Same with Nadal.
Well, perhaps that's asset number 1 in explaining why they're both such great champions.
hasn't had much to cheer about, but all of a sudden she has. Suddenly Federer with all the shots at his disposal, and he assures himself of at least a tiebreak in this second set and a completely different complexion on the match. Suddenly there's an air of belief around this stadium court that Federer can level proceedings up. And it would be a dramatic way to do it as well. And the world number one looking far more relaxed now. Oh, he hit it so well.
Covered a lot of ground there, and even more here. That was a nice 2-iron.
That was a chance. Should have got round it on his forehand.
It would have been a long way to go.
Couldn't continue the momentum, Federer, that he had built up in the last couple of games. Nadal stalls his progress, and this second set will be decided on the tiebreak. In their previous 4 meetings, they've had a couple of tiebreakers, and it's shared, one apiece. But you feel this is a tiebreak Federer has to win. Oh yes, some solid net skills from Federer. And he cut down Nadal's angles by going back behind the Spaniard. we've all known about his defence at the back of the court. It's legendary from Nadal. But he's shown some real skills at defending in the forecourt as well today.
Yeah, this was an error, a mental error from Federer, though. I think the best play there, push it up the line to land it at Nadal's feet and then cover the net. Force the Spaniard to make the superb pass.
It's long, and Federer gets the first mini break.
Federer.
Tension seems to have got to Nadal late in this second set.
Yeah, because that's a shot that he's been making this entire match.
Second, thought he hadn't got enough angle on the volley, but again Nadal found wanting on the pass.
Yeah, he got away with that one. That volley was begging to be put away. Federer pushed it, but dodged the bullet.
Well, he probably earned his luck, muscled his way to that point, Nadal. And he kept the world number one pinned in his backhand corner. And this is at times, isn't it, Pete, where you sort of throw the cloak of disguise off. At times during the course match, you'll go to your opponent's strengths just to sort of keep the weakness for later. But when you get to the breaker and the big points, you're not going to go too much to Federer's forehand if he can help it.
Yeah, interesting though, yesterday Nadal said that when things got tough, he became far more aggressive. Just his tactic there in the tiebreak.
So the change ends at 2-4. Still just the 1 mini break for Federer. Well, he's closed the net down superbly. Well, if Nadal wanted to be aggressive, he never got the opportunity in that point. It was all Federer. Just what he wanted as well. A big first serve. And Nadal's turn to think about what might have been had he closed out this set when he had the chance. Federer with 4 set points. Oh, what a turnaround, and what a way to finish it. All of Nadal's good work in those opening couple of sets gone, and we're a set apiece. Straight sets was all the way back in 2004 at Roland Garros to Gustavo Kuerten. At a set and 5-4 with Nadal serving, you thought that perhaps it was going to happen, but such is the mental toughness more than his tennis ability at times of this man. He's turned that second set around.
Yeah, and I have to say, this match has some parallels with the match they played last year in the finals of Miami. In that match, Nadal went up 2-0. In the third set, was 2 points from winning in the tiebreak. Ended up losing that, and Federer went on to win in 5. This time, Nadal up. Well, had a set point in the second set, and you would have thought had he won that second set that he might have just cruised. So perhaps Federer on his way back, or is this just a blip, as it was when Federer won the second set in their encounter last summer at Roland Garros?
Certainly the flag of Switzerland flying a lot higher than it was 20 minutes or so ago. And now the crowd feeling as though they've got the match they came here for. So Nadal now to deal with his own demons after loss of that second set. Time to regroup, and he'll begin the third. And suddenly Federer can see a way past his opponent. Such is the respect between these two players that it just took a nod of the head of Federer to say that the ball was wide. And no complaint from Nadal. Oh yes, and Federer showing Nadal-like movement around a clay court.
Yeah, and perhaps this a tactic that Federer will employ a few more times now that he has relaxed. Draw Nadal into the net.
Well, he's shown in 41 consecutive matches that Nadal is the best on this surface when you perhaps play his style of game. But as you say, Peter, Matt's drawing him in, dropping the ball a little short of a length at times is the way to go. Easier to say than do, though.
Yeah, because if you don't hit it perfectly, he's just going to whip a topspin cross-court winner.
I mean, that'd be the only thing I would be a little surprised about today. He's given Nadal his go-to serve, which is the slice out wide with the lefty, and he's rolled it back and almost allowed Nadal to start teeing off. And he does have that ability to even just chop it up the line with the slice.
And touch, Federer.
To be fair, I'm not sure it's something he's had to think about much in his career, because always his plan has been just to put the ball back into play, because once he's in a rally with every other player, he's the favorite.
And he was trying to do something there. It didn't come off.
And touch, Federer.
Well, perhaps not a huge game in terms of the outcome of this third set. Much tennis to be played, but maybe just a good game for Federer to win now, to maintain the momentum he built up at the end of the second.
Well, I don't know, Petch, you might be right, but if I were out there playing, this would be a crucial game. I mean, it makes all the difference, especially for Federer, to almost cement the momentum change.
Well, as you would expect, he's going to go with his serve out wide on the break point most of the time. And Federer has the breakthrough. And it looks as though Nadal has just lost his way a little bit in terms of his shot selection. And Federer winning the mental battle out here.
Yeah, because that was a bit of a gift, really, from Nadal. That drop shot, one that Federer was able to pounce on. And you want your opponent to work just a bit harder than that to secure a break.
It looks as though he's got a problem again with his finger, with the tape on his finger. Had this at the start of the match before the first ball was struck.
Ladies and gentlemen, the trainer has
Yeah, and I don't think it's anything to worry about, really. The trainer summoned to come out and put a bit more of the adhesive and another batch of tape onto that split finger.
Here is the trainer. Shouldn't take too long. There is a sort of unwritten rule that you should wait to sort of delay the game until it's your turn to serve, but obviously Nadal feels as though it's necessary to get the tape done now.
We have time or we have to take it?
This is a medical time.
Okay, so we start. Yeah.
This being the same sort of injury that he had after beating Correa in that final in Rome last year that kept him out of Hamburg. So it's something that he has to manage all the way through his career. Clearly he's got a slight problem with this.
Yeah, well, he hasn't quite I suppose, found the balance and how to keep his fingers moist enough. Because when the weather is as dry as it can be, and your fingers keep rubbing the racket, if you get a little split, it's just a nuisance. But when that split gets bigger, it can be quite painful and get infected, and then it's nasty. And then so the idea is, well, not get any in the first place, but once he's got it here, he needs to try and keep it shut.
Any danger that Nadal's played a little too much in the last couple of years in terms of where he is? I know he's physically seems as though he's developed, but he won 11 titles last year. He had the problem with his feet at the end of last year after Madrid, which kept him out of the Australian Open. He's had to have special shoes made by his company to, I think it's an inch or something that they've done just to solve the problem. And he is still young and growing. And
well, perhaps, yeah. It's a difficult thing to say. I mean, he seems to have managed it physically, apart from that 4-month period where he had to recuperate the stress fracture in his foot. He seems to have come back quite well. I mean, I guess the first couple of tournaments he was saying, well, it's not perfect, but certainly on the clay courts now, I think the problems seem to have fixed themselves.
So a little concern for his nephew from Uncle Tony.
Yeah, I think the concern is less on the state of his finger and on the state of his chances in this match. And perhaps this break has come at an opportune time for Nadal. Perhaps the tape came off his finger at an opportune time. It's time for a break. I think I called trainer.
Federer has already defended 3 of his titles this year. The rest of the ATP Tour, none. And Nadal trying to defend his Monte Carlo crown. And in some ways, perhaps because of the injury, he doesn't feel quite the same level of expectation as he might have done. And he's made a pretty good job of defending his Master Series title here. And this match has got everything in it now. So Jerry Armstrong just calling time. And I think because he had it treated before the match started, which is why he was allowed to get another injury time out for the same injury, I think the next time if he needs to have it done again, he's probably going to have to try and get it done in between sit-downs. But hopefully no long-lasting damage for Rafael Nadal. The damage has been done though through the breaker serve. Federer leads 1-love. And seeing shots like that fly past him probably hurts him a little bit more than his finger. Well, the second hour was certainly a lot more enjoyable than the first hour for Federer.
And Federer really seems to have gained the upper hand here. He's gliding around the court now. Very comfortable at the back.
Well, he grew up learning his tennis on a clay court, Federer. And there's no doubt that helps your balance when it comes to movement.
Yes.
I don't think Federer could quite believe that shot. Maybe the sort of shot that brings Nadal back into this set. He improvised on the previous point.
Federer.
They're proving to be a couple of crunch games early on in this third.
And here's where, after having played 2 hours, we'll see both men tested mentally. Can they keep their intensity up for this entire time?
Well, I think he's going to be livid with himself there, Federer. I mean, Nadal hit a miraculous shot to get himself back into that game, but he was a little wasteful.
Just not sharp moving to that, was he?
And he couldn't really blame the sort of break that they had, because he was 40-15 up in that game. It didn't really destroy his concentration. But we're back on serve. Clearly long.
Well, I'm not convinced that Federer has found a tactic that will work consistently against Nadal. But I suppose the question is, Can he execute it for an extended period of time?
Well, again, that's the one thing we always sort of bang on about when you ever take on Nadal, is this ability to keep the intensity point after point after point. And Nadal seems to do it better than anyone else. And suddenly Nadal's got the bit between his teeth again early on in this third set. He was swiftly down the break, but he's got it back, and we're on serve at 2-1. So many swings and changes in this match for the crowd to have enjoyed. Perhaps not so for Federer at the moment.
Please. Thank you.
Well, number one. On serve though in the third set. Would you say this is the toughest surface to concentrate on over 5 sets?
Yeah, no question about it, because so many of the rallies are 10, 12 shots, even 20 shots, that physically it can be exhausting. Okay, you play at Wimbledon on grass, and there are extenuating circumstances.
Borgo. The papier, s'il vous plaît. D'accord. Yeah. It's okay.
The Franglais there. And a bit of luck there for Federer.
Yeah, I mean, just to finish that thought, on grass, there are a lot of extenuating circumstances. It's bad bounces, bad weather, but you can coast through service games.
Scorcher from Federer, and he seems to have regained his composure. And it is a learnt art, isn't it, when to sort of keep the intensity and when to drop off over the course of 5 sets. It's a nice love service game, his first of the match. Personally didn't get to play enough 5-setters to learn the art, but I know you did, Pete.
I might have played enough to learn the art, but I certainly didn't learn it.
So a change of balls. Big difference on a clay, you think, the change of balls?
Yes. Yeah, no question. These first couple of service games for Federer, the new balls will fly through the air quicker, will help him hold serve, and even on return of serve, will just help him shorten the points a little bit, which I think he will view as an advantage.
Let's first service. Cancer 2.
In that case, Nadal using the quick balls to his advantage.
It's almost becoming his trademark shot, the little drop shot.
Again, he moved into it so aggressively. Took it very early, gave Federer very little time to react.
Front cans.
Too much depth hurried Federer into a mistake. And that steely look, which wavered a little bit at the end of the second set and the start of the third, looks to have returned for Nadal.
It's been very seldom that Federer has been able to move up into the court and drive his backhand. That courtesy of a slight mishit off of Nadal's racket.
And you can feel his presence again on the centre court. And suddenly Nadal believes once again as he moves ahead of Federer. 3-2. Beautiful place and some beautiful people. Not least the two players on the court playing some beautiful tennis. Federer at the moment chasing the score. 2-3, third set.
Lent for service. Cancer 2.
Nadal not happy with the call, I don't think. Or was it a let? We're sure it's 30 love.
Speak for yourself. Yeah, and that time Nadal benefiting from just putting the ball into court. Quite good depth, and I think he was the beneficiary of a bad bounce.
Well, there's no doubt that Nadal can hurt Federer, not just on clay, as we have seen he's done it on hard courts as well. Federer, who lost a 40-15 lead in his opening service game of this third set, just needs to be a little wary here. Clinical finish to that point and the game for Federer, and he squares things up at 3-all. It's the Laureus Athlete of the Year award last year. Sorry, won it last year. Also won an Outstanding Athlete of the Year award by the US Sports Academy, voted online, but didn't win the Swiss Athlete of the Year award, which he was slightly miffed about.
So who won that?
I believe it was a skier who won a couple of races downhill quickly.
I suppose it must be difficult when you give those awards. You know, in Switzerland, he could win every award going for the next 10 years. And people will just yawn and fall asleep. So you give it to someone else and headlines. Now we've got some recognition.
Yeah, Federer irritated by lack of recognition. Who won it? Still don't know. Hasn't hurt the sales of his cologne though, I'm led to believe. Any insecurities for you if your wife came home and brought you a bottle of Roger Federer? Because you could imagine the scene, couldn't you, if you came home with a bottle of the Sharapova perfume and the sort of inquisition you're going to get after buying that.
Sounds like you speak from personal experience there, Petch.
Not just from that one. Many mistakes, Pete. We've seen some good touches around the net by both players, including Nadal, but that wasn't one of them.
No, it wasn't an especially easy volley.
So a pretty big point has sort of crept up on us. And an indication that Nadal thought it was a big point as well. Sort of error that Federer can ill afford, getting towards the business end of this set. pretty impressive. Hit it consistently hard from Federer. Certainly the last set and a bit, he's shown how he can make inroads into Nadal's defence.
Ball boy, yeah. By your feet, ball boy. Merci. Avantage, Nadal.
And this is turning into a monumental game for both players. Oh, how great is that?
Yeah, both players seemingly defending, just putting the ball back in an awkward position and moving to the next ball.
Avantage, Federer.
And that was the shot for me. I mean, how Nadal managed to keep himself in that rally. I thought Federer was definitely going to be on top before he finally got to put it away. Sort of opportunities Federer just can't squander at this stage of the set. And Nadal making him pay.
Yeah, Nadal, his intensity is just so incredible, reminiscent of Jimmy Connors, the guy who John McEnroe said was the greatest competitor he had ever seen on a tennis court. He just doesn't go away for a second.
And the moment has gone away for Federer, so close to breaking the Spaniard serve, but it wasn't a be. And Nadal leads 4-3. Federer coming into this match had won 29 consecutive Masters Series matches. That is some record. And it's right on the line here, and it's right on the knife edge in this third set. Of course, this final, the best of 5 sets, so still quite a lot of tennis to be played. But a real pivotal set, this third one.
Yeah, that record of 29 straight Masters Series wins, of course, does not take into account the Masters Cup, where Roger Federer lost in the final to David Nalbandian.
Second fence.
Was there any way that Federer would hide anything in this match against Nadal about what he perhaps might bring to the table in the final of, say, a French Open?
I don't think so. I think it's more important for him to gain the belief that he can take Nadal out on a clay court.
Do you think even Federer struggles to sustain the intensity that Nadal does?
I think he does, yeah. He hasn't had as much practice at it. And I think it will be an issue for him because Federer at some times appears to have a Sampras-like attitude. And it may just allow him a longevity that perhaps Nadal won't achieve. The jury's still out on that.
Tables so quickly turned in this match, as they have been throughout, and all of a sudden Nadal with a break point. That's an impressive way to save it. Not as easy as it looked. Barely. I mean, you didn't even see Nadal in your picture until the last second.
Yeah, and Federer couldn't have taken that ball any earlier. Struck it well.
It's been some untidy stuff from Federer in these last couple of games when it's mattered the most. No, he's done it. And you expect him to do it.
Yeah, and perhaps Federer needs to add a drop shot off his forehand occasionally. Because Nadal camped good 7-8 feet behind the baseline at all times.
And another break point saved, and saved well. You a little surprised that Federer hasn't served and volleyed a little more in this match?
Well, a little more being once. Yeah, perhaps.
Just couldn't get round the ball to get it on his forehand. And Federer looked down on the court, and it seemed a bit like a bad bounce, but he's going to have to put that to one side quickly. Nadal has his third break point of the game. And Nadal makes it happen. There's the breakthrough.
Yeah, and this is why he is so tough. An explosive winner when you least expect it.
He couldn't close out the second set when he served for it, Nadal. I wonder whether he'll make the same mistake twice. Not even Rafa can get that.
Yeah, well, what a stab.
Seconds.
This Federer was in trouble here.
he's stolen it again. How does he do it?
Now indeed, and it seems Nadal just better than Federer at these cat and mouse games.
You really feel a discernible drop in Federer's level of intensity in the last 15 minutes, and whether Nadal is starting to win the physical battle out here, well, I guess the fourth set will tell us. Unanswerable clay court tennis from Nadal at the moment. And a couple of very tough games midway through this third set, and Nadal won them both. And he now finds himself with 2 set points for a 2-1 lead.
Oh, he nearly pulled it off.
Well, I was just about to say that's one of the best drop shots I've ever seen, let alone on set point down. And as you say, Nadal almost picked it up for a winner. But Federer saves the first of the 2 set points in some style. The boy from Manacor, Mallorca, doesn't make the same mistake the second time around. And the world number 2, but perhaps probably the world's best on a clay court, takes a 2-1 lead.
Tennis marathon will be in Dusseldorf for the World Team Cup. It's a marathon in Monte Carlo at the moment between these two. Rafael Nadal, a 2-1 up at the moment, has just taken the third set 6-3. You wonder whether Nadal is now starting to win the mental battle now as well. Let's go back to Mark Petchey and Peter Fleming.
Well, Nadal already has something that I'm sure Federer would dearly love, and that's a Monte Carlo title. But it looks as though Nadal now in charge to defend his title that he won so well last year against Guillermo Coria. Sure, you could describe Nadal as an artist on the court, probably more so Federer, but he paints a pretty picture all the same. So Federer at this change of ends is going to have to regroup, and he's going to have to dig deep as well. He's going to have to do something that he's never done before against Nadal on a clay court, and that's win 2 sets consecutively. And he can't say that he didn't have any chances in that third set either. Up 1-love with a break, 40-15, and the next game couldn't consolidate the break, and Nadal hit back. He also had break points at 3-all, so he had some chances, and if he can hang on to the positives, it could hold him in good stead in this fourth set. But Nadal looks as though he's rejuvenated in many ways.
And if you're Roger Federer,
Kansas
you're going to be
City.
thinking, long way to go. Or rather, you could forgive him for thinking long way to go, but perhaps such is the champion in him that hasn't entered his mind yet.
Kansas City.
It feels as though he's hit his forehand a little harder in the last half an hour or so, or do you feel as though it's maybe Federer not being as effective? Or as simple as he won the big points in that third set and Federer didn't?
It could just be that Federer has slowed down just a trace in reacting to the ball, allowing Nadal to gain the initiative.
It's amazing how early he can see his opponent coming in, and maybe that's just because of how deep he is, he sees it, but so often when the opponents try the surprise tactic of the serve and volley, they're playing it off their shoelaces.
Yeah, but that was a seeing eye return, wasn't it? Sort of a mishit that just happened to bounce at the service line. Not that one.
Avantage Nadal.
So Nadal with a chance to break early in the fourth. Break he does, and maybe the frustration just getting a little too much for Federer to deal with. He's lost a couple of service games he really shouldn't have in the last two sets, and you can ill afford that against Nadal on clay.
And that one, a huge break for Nadal, coming back from 40 love down. And that just takes the stuffing out of an opponent's assault, really. I mean, anytime. That's why it's so important not to give up on 40 love games. You think, well, he's 40 love up on his serve, just it's not even worth trying. But if you somehow manage a break, you really can deflate an opponent.
Federer, who's himself has been no slouch on clay in the last 4 years. He's when you consider he started his career 0 for 11 on the clay courts, he's since posted 75 wins and 19 losses, and has won a clay court title for the past 4 years. But at the moment playing second fiddle to the teenager.
Kansas City. Thrown to 0. Thrown to Keynes.
Crowd trying to revive Federer's chances in this match. Such is the precision that he has to play with against Nadal that when the intensity just isn't quite there, and perhaps, as Chris Bailey said, Nadal winning the mental battle, the errors start flowing.
Let's first.
And again, good maturity shown by Nadal, just taking his time here. Teenager doing something that a 24-year-old couldn't do in the previous set, and that's consolidate the break. And Nadal off to a flyer in the fourth and moving ever closer to a second Monte Carlo title.
Which, should he secure this, would be his 14th title, moving him just 2 away from Bjorn Borg, who holds the record of 16 titles as a teenager.
And Nadal, who has until the 3rd of June, which is when he turns 20, to break that record.
So conceivably, if he were to win in Barcelona and Rome, he could tie Borg.
See, that's just devastating. It's a devastating blow to Federer's chances.
Yeah, because it takes away Federer's best shot, his favorite shot. This off forehand is so devastating against every other player, but right into Nadal's wheelhouse.
But as you said, Pete, I think it's a great point. I think Federer needs to employ the forehand drop shot a little bit more. It would have been a great play there. Softened him up with a huge forehand and just perhaps hasn't explored the possibilities in the forecourt enough, Federer, and I mean that in terms of Nadal's forecourt, bringing him up.
Yeah, I could almost see him hitting a drop shot or a short ball right down the middle. Don't give Nadal any angle to work with.
It's on here, on here, on here. On here. Where is the mark? No, no, this is the mark here. It's not. Do you have the mark?
You'd have to think if they can't find a mark, the ball must have been good.
Yeah, but the problem is if you don't find a mark, surely the call has to stand.
Yep. There's no readable mark there, Roger, I'm afraid. There's no readable mark there. The call stands. Sorry, mate, the call stands. Honestly, there's no readable mark there.
You cannot replay the point on this?
No, no, the original call stands. No.
This I don't accept, I mean.
No, that's the rules, Roger.
30-odd point, you kidding me? Or?
No. There is just no readable mark there. And then the original course has to stand.
The guy had no clue himself.
But there's nothing to read there.
That's why I think we play the point is a fair choice.
No, but the rules. There's no readable mark, so the original ends, which means the ball. No, the original call stands. There's no readable mark there. So the original call stands. The out call stands. The out call stands. It's your point.
Well, we're going to get a little look at Hawkeye here, and well, it looks as though it was a good call.
No readable mark, the original call stands.
Well, that was a surprise. I would have thought there would be no readable mark because it landed on the line, but clearly not the case.
He's done him, and he's broken for a second time, and he's accelerating away, and Federer launches one into the Mediterranean. And it's Nadal who leads 2-1 and 3-love. Certainly looks as though Nadal's going to continue this ever impressive record on clay, and for Federer, it looks as though it's back to the drawing board in terms of a way to defeat his younger opponent. Just over the 3 hours gone, and it's Nadal firmly in charge. He's won the last 6 games.
And for Federer, that outburst amounts to a McEnroe-like meltdown, doesn't it? I mean, we just rarely see him show any emotion.
And he still believes that he can breathe new life into this match as well, clearly. fair. It's not a bad looking shot from Federer. Maybe he needs to be a little bit more aggressive on his slice. To break back, and what a way to break back as well. Full of venom and frustration that game in many ways for Federer.
But I think you've made a very good point there, in that largely throughout this match, Federer has been unable to make any kind of impression on Nadal with his backhand. So all the Spaniard needs to do is roll one deep with a lot of spin, and he's back into a point. Perhaps he was listening to you earlier. Yeah, great play. Received a high return. Of course, it was the sneak attack that really paid dividends.
Nothing sneaky about that, just heat. For once, you get the feeling that Federer being driven here by negative energy. So often it's positive and calm and everything else, but he's just been so frustrated the last couple of games, and it's added a little bit of pace to his shots.
Federer perhaps benefiting from a slight lull in his opponent.
It might just be, but can he continue the revival? Good couple of games for Federer. He's right back in this fourth set. Nadal needs to be wary. Apart from the title, a great deal of pride at stake today in this final, and each man's chance to sort of get one up heading towards the Grand Slam in Paris.
Yeah, and for Roger Federer, pride, something that he has in abundance.
as you said, Pete, I think there was definitely a lull in the level of performance from Nadal in the last 2 games, but no real surprise there considering the intensity around 3-all in that third set. And then Nadal went on a run of 6 games. And to do that is never easy, particularly when you're playing the world's best player. Backhand just isn't getting it done. And therein lies one of the biggest problems that Federer has. A backhand that would normally carve a big opening for him against most players, he finds himself chasing. And Nadal obviously regrouping well at that change of ends and comes out and delivers the perfect service game.
Yeah, and so much of this match has been played on Nadal's terms. So often they've been using cross-court rallies from Federer's backhand to Nadal's forehand. Federer needs to figure out a way to change that pattern.
But you could play devil's advocate, and I'm sure if you were Federer you would look back at the match and say, well, hang on, I hold my serve up 1-love up in the third set with a break, I'm 2-love up, totally different complexion on the match, and then also at 3-all I take the break point, I'm up 4-3 with a break, potentially 2 sets to 1 up. How badly or how bad was my strategy?
Has there been any point in this match when you've actually felt that Federer has had the upper hand?
Not particularly in the way the points are constructed, I would agree with that. I feel, as you say, he's been a little bit more reliant on Nadal not playing well. Happen to think that's a decent play against Nadal. High loopy shot, getting it up above his shoulders on that backhand side.
Let's first.
We're so used to seeing Federer dominant in matches. And I don't think he will rest easy until he's dominant against Nadal on clay.
Still feel that he's driven that backhand a little too much. I still feel that he has the ability to bite it right into the clay. Well, he did well there, Federer. That wasn't the easiest of plays after the net cord. Oh, that is delectable. Unbelievable touch at the net from Federer, and he gets back to within a game of his opponent. 3-4. Time running out for Roger Federer to figure it out in this match. Down 2-1 and down the break. Well, it's the speed of which Nadal gets up the court to the ball that makes it that much easier.
Yeah, but perhaps what you were saying earlier, that Federer has not knifed many backhand slices, that means that Nadal's not really worried about it. He can creep in and still move back in time to be in position for the floating slice.
Generally, when you've got that type of shot, if you're Federer, you're thinking you're totally in charge of the point. But there must be a few doubts going through his mind as he hits it. It's like, do I really want to take it there? But again, Pete, I think if you could be in Federer's camp right now and just sort of freeze that tape right there before he hits that point, say, well, just occasionally drop it over the net. Rapid return, and it got the sort of response he was looking for, and it's Federer poised to mount a comeback. He may just well be one of his best backhands of the match.
Yeah, and perhaps it's the fatigue that's setting in on Federer, or just the proximity of defeat. But he seems to be throwing caution to the wind a lot more now. And the real Roger Federer that we're used to seeing is appearing.
Well, there's been many storylines in this match, but perhaps the underlying one has been his inability to win some of the key points, as that one most certainly was. But he's given himself another chance here. Another crushing forehand from Federer. He's done it. He's broken back. It's what everybody wanted, apart from Nadal, and he does it in some style.
Yeah, and as brave a face as Rafael Nadal is putting on this situation, I get the feeling that he's just a little jaded right now. And Federer defiant.
That's wide, Roger.
How's your response?
Federer doing a wonderful job digging that ball up. Not good enough.
Called head from Federer.
Perhaps Federer gaining a few more admirers.
Well, I'm not sure if Nadal was lucky or he was just so good with the drop shot. It was an audacious effort from where he was.
Yeah, it certainly was. It's a bit of both.
Let's for service.
And an ace to seal the game and set the standard for Nadal in the next game as well. And Federer fights back in this fourth set to lead 5-4. Well, for all his tennis brilliance, again, you have to say he, like Nadal, is the ultimate competitor.
Absolutely. When he was down 2-1 and 2 breaks in this fourth set, I'd have to say that I thought his day was done. But certainly, you mustn't underestimate the pride that makes up Roger Federer.
Well, as he's been quoted on many occasions, he said he hates to lose, and sometimes that just got in the way of him winning because he was more bothered with that. But somehow, even through his frustration at the start of this fourth set, he has found a way to increase his level of performance, and now the pressure firmly on Nadal.
Yeah, and increase his level of performance he has done to a striking degree. Because at the start of this fourth set, Federer was meekly surrendering, and all of a sudden, in a matter of minutes, he's turned into the Roger Federer we're used to seeing.
And an atmosphere here at the Monte Carlo Country Club to grace the occasion. The two best players in the world going toe to toe. The crowd want a fifth set. Roger Federer wants a fifth set. Nadal doesn't.
The tactic was clear. Stay away from the Nadal forehand. Just couldn't execute.
An immense shot, some immense strength being displayed by Nadal, dragging that one from behind him. Love service game. Federer's run of 3 successive games comes to an end swiftly, and we're all locked up at 5-all. And an atmosphere that is reminiscent of a Davis Cup tie rather than a Masters Series final. And we saw how much Nadal enjoyed that. And, he became the youngest ever singles winner in a Davis Cup final when Spain beat America. This time it's Federer who rides his luck off the tape.
Yeah, and what a stroke of genius this was, well behind the baseline. Slithered it off the top of the net. That's a new wrinkle. We have not seen Federer take that backhand early and hit it wide before.
Nets, first service.
Federer seems to have switched his angle of attack on that due side more to the forehand off the first serve. Well, that's a couple of impressive games considering what's on the line here in Monte Carlo. And Federer with a love service going his own, and his support camp up on their feet. 6-5. Picturesque setting, and the picture looking a lot better for Federer as well. He's guaranteed himself a tiebreaker. Nadal trying to level things up at 6-all, serving a stay in this fourth set. He's relentless, Nadal.
What a sensational reply, because Federer's forehand was heavy and wide.
He's just warming up.
From our angle, that looked pretty good.
It was almost pretty good.
That's first service.
That's the slice backhand you were talking about, Mark. The knife through the court. Nadal did well to dig it out.
Well, it's been the set of comebacks for Roger Federer. He was 2 breaks down. He's been love 40 down in this game, and now he stands just a mere 2 points away from levelling up this final. Oh, he had it. It was all lined up in his sights. But for some inexplicable reason, he misfired. Nadal's nerve holds strong, as it has done for most of his career. And we have a second tiebreaker in this final. Federer's only lost the one tiebreaker this year out of the 15 that he's played. It's a healthy statistic coming into this one, but he'll be happier that he's claimed the first point.
Nadal, on the other hand, has only played 2 tiebreakers all year, lost them both.
The mini break is Federer's. Three-love lead to Federer. Some swashbuckling tennis from the world number one. He's got it past him. 2 points in a row for Nadal against the serve.
Yeah, and you have to question that choice of shot there. Better to... You're damned if you do, damned if you don't you? Because he's been passed so many times off the Nadal backhand.
How is that forehand, and what a response from Federer this time. And you can hear where the crowd's loyalties lie at the moment.
Purely because they're desperate for a fifth set.
Long. It's that type of forehand though that's brought him back into this match. Well, how's that for courage?
On both ends.
It's been a fascinating set of tennis. Nadal raced away. Federer pegged him back. He looked close to winning it at 6-5 and at 3-love up in the tiebreak. But all of a sudden, if Nadal can hold on to these two service points, he's the winner in Monte Carlo. Federer gets the first one back. And it's pure theatre. And as Nadal does so often, he overpowers his opponent.
Oh, what a gutsy point from the Spaniard.
Three hours, 48 minutes of nail-biting tennis. Nadal with championship point. Nadal is the winner in Monte Carlo in dramatic fashion, and you can see what it means to the teenager to defend his title. Federer today showed us that he's as determined as he is talented, but ultimately it's Nadal who's the victor.
Yeah, and what an athlete, what a champion this teenager is. Yeah, you should be excited.
And both players showing such strong will out here. A fantastic title match. It was the match that everybody wanted at the start of the week, and it's the match we got, and it didn't fail to deliver.
Yeah, Roger Federer certainly has not yet come up with the final formula to defeat Rafael Nadal on clay, but you get the feeling he's getting just a bit closer.
Didn't disappoint, did it? As Mark Pesci rightly said, it was a final we all wanted and it lived up to expectations. The only thing missing from that final was a fifth set. Roger Federer had tried his best to deliver, but it's Rafael Nadal who wins the title yet again in the Principality, with 4 quite incredible sets. What a final we've had in Monte Carlo. In some ways it's back to the drawing board for Federer. He thought he'd found the solution to the Nadal problem. He's yet to find the answers. And that's victory for Nadal ahead of the French Open, the second major of the year. A massive psychological victory. Yet again, it's Federer and Nadal who are dominating the early part of a Masters Series year. We move on to Rome and Hamburg next month. Then we have a short break before it's the hard court season and the build-up to the US Open, which will be live on Sky Sports, Madrid and Paris, and then of course Shanghai, the Masters Cup, with the world's top 8 go head-to-head. No doubt in my mind that Federer and Nadal will be there, as they will be in Rome and Hamburg.
4 stars.
Well, this has to be a sweet moment for Tony Nadal and of course Rafael, His Serene Highness Prince Albert there presenting the trophy, his 5th Masters Series title. But more importantly, it's another defeat of Roger Federer on the clay court ahead of the French Open, bearing in mind that people have been talking since Federer won the Australian